Today's episode is a special one for us as it is generously sponsored by the EBC Financial Group as part of their commitment to making economic research accessible to the public.
You can think about each balloon. The blue balloon represents the demand side of the economy, and the orange represents the supply side. That means how able is the economy to produce the goods and services that are demanded. The key thing that economists think about is that these things are linked. And here they're linked by this sort of seesaw around that sort of middle dot fulcrum. What it says is that as the air goes up, let's say in this diagram on the demand side, there's more demand relative to supply. So the key with the seesaw is that it's the relative balance between these two that matters. And when there's more demand, we tend to think that inflation goes up above its sort of normal rates of 1.5% to 2% in most countries. Again, if you had the reverse, if supply was bigger, then you'd have downward pressure on inflation. And central banks are charged with trying to keep inflation around 2%. In many countries, we've seen the damaging impact that high inflation has. Then we explain to them how the interest rate can do that. And actually it works through adjusting the air in the balloon for demand. So if you raise the interest rates, then households want to save more and spend less, and businesses don't want to invest and hire so many people because the cost of loans and borrowing goes up. That means there's less household and business demand, less new jobs are created, and we get this demand more in line with supply. Okay, I'll show you this one picture from this particular intervention. The blue is how people thought in advance, and you can see this looks where unemployment and inflation are positively correlated. If instead, after they've seen our video, they now think they're negatively correlated, they actually swing to thinking like economists in terms of understanding how we think supply and demand tend to go together. They were asked, what if the government spends more money? What would happen to inflation and unemployment? Okay, so that's one particular understanding aspect. We also asked them if they understood what happens if you increase interest rates. And again, initially, about 73% get it right, that if you increase interest rates, activity falls. But they're much more mixed on their understanding of inflation and unemployment. After the intervention, we actually get them to the point, both immediately and when we follow up with them 20 weeks later,